Hello and welcome to week 7 of season 2 of the Zwift Racing League. Last week there was a whole lot of watts dropped in a whole lot of lava, and this week we move back to Richmond for the second time in season 2 for the Libby Hill after party. It should be absolutely sensational. It is the penultimate round of season 2, and alongside me for the ride as ever, Hannah Walker. Hey Hannah.
Hey Matt, great to be back for the penultimate race.
And also with me, Mr. Dave Towle, of course, the living legend that is Dave Towle.
I'm with Hannah, Matt. I am really excited for today.
Well, it's been an absolutely fascinating season so far. Still a lot at stake. Nobody can rest on their laurels as we head into penultimate round. It's a fascinating circuit, which we'll look at a little bit later on. But first to you, Hannah, a bit of a reflection on the season. The point I want to bring up is that in the women's, we've got Hino. The women in red have been absolutely dominant. But quite interestingly, aside from the two team time trials, which they've emerged victorious, they haven't won an individual points race, have they? Which is really quite interesting.
Very interesting. Despite their dominance, haven't quite managed to crack that individual win. They've come close on several occasions with Hubax, Hansen and Lethbridge getting onto that podium, second, third place here and there. But, could tonight be their, first opportunity and last opportunity to take an individual round? We know it's all about the team classification here in the Zwift Racing League in the Premier Division. But the likes of Catherine Curry and Beth McIver, the only two riders to actually win an individual round, both doubling up this season. So tonight, could see our first rider, other than Curry and McIver, to take an individual victory and final opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And given the kind of circuit that we've got as well, they might not have it their own way. It's a shorter circuit this week. It's flat. It's going to be a thriller, all set to kick off right at the end up Libby Hill. But interesting point that Hannah raised there about the team kind of focus in the Zwift Racing League. And we're seeing that in the men's, aren't we? Because Canyon Esports, they've got a nice 9-point buffer heading into this round 7, Dave. But again, they haven't actually won an individual round. They've stayed focused on keeping all their riders together. They've podiumed consistently, but they haven't still won that individual points round.
Yeah, Matt, everything that Hannah said about Hino really applies to Canyon as well. They've kept their eye on the prize, which is putting riders in the top 10, not winning the outright event. You don't need to. So this team has really dialed it in outside of a catastrophe. I think the real race to watch is going to be second and third out there today. And we'll take a little bit later at where these points are at. But there's going to be riders that are looking to break through here today. And I think that's going to be the dynamic that makes today incredibly exciting. It's the finale here. You're going to see, I'm going to guess, 8 different teams in the top 10 when this one is done and dusted, rather than Canyon and P.O. Auto getting 3 guys up in the top 10. It's going to be wide open out there today.
It certainly is, and this is the first time we've seen the Zwift Racing League head on to this circuit. We know Richmond very, very well, but this permutation for me is really, really exciting. I don't really know what to expect. We know we think there's going to be a big group that head to the finish, and because the men are on first, we could see the first rider in season 2 to get a hat-trick of wins with Freddie Ovett. That remains to be seen. Lots to look out for today, but before we do focus on the course, on the Libby Hill course, let's have a little look back at the action that dropped in the centre of the volcano last week.
We're well into season 2. This is race 6 of 8.
The men are already underway. Zudal off the front now, 11.3 watts a kilo. He's absolutely romping up these climbs.
Look at this, Freddie Ovett going by like a rocket ship on rails. Legion of LA picking up the first 5 points on offer out here.
2 laps to go. Viasan just goes, accelerates over the top. Muller as well goes straight over the top. Freddie Ovett's coming up again. 17 watts a kilo. Wow. He does it again. Timely use of a power up. Do you know what, Davey? Didn't need it. Maximum points again for Freddie Ovett. 1 lap to go now.
Here is the gantry where the points will be scored. It's going to be Zalgabe here, Tudal, Alec Cowan. We mentioned Alec. Here we go. It's going to be Freddie Ovett making it 3 for 3.
Bird at the front. Gill now goes around. Larson not too far away as well, but Ovett is coming up. Ovett for the Legion of Los Angeles. Freddie Ovett takes it from Ollie Jones. What an absolutely sensational finale. That was breathless stuff. Well, it was a late sort of flight, a bird there, wasn't it? His wings were clipped in the center of the volcano, and it was, as we said, the Legion of Los Angeles, Freddie Ovett. What a signing he's turned out to be. Let's have a look at the top of the rankings as we do head into this penultimate round. And there we have it. Canyon Esports sit pretty at the top heading into round 7. They have 113 points, which is 9 points clear of the second squad, which is Saris and the Pros Closet. But nipping at their heels, who've had a spectacular season so far. Only one bad night, but look at the amount of wins they've already had. PO Auto Ceramic Speed there with 102. Then a bit further behind in 4th, Dutch Racing with 95, and Legion of Los Angeles not too far behind them as well. Then we have Callas in 6th, Zwift Warriors, what a sensational debut in the Premier League from them in 7th. World of Elite Zwift is in 8th, Kirkmere, another revelation this year, and then we have, rounding out our top 10, Vitus Esports. So that is the situation at the rankings, Dave. Now, we're on this circuit that we know very, very well. We've never raced on the Libby Hill after party. Dave, talk us through, because it's really whetted my appetite. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. They say in the sport there are horses for courses, and today is one for the sprinters at just over 33 kilometers with only 106 meters of climbing. It's going to be an absolute throwdown. Now, you're going to see the sprints popping up here 5 different times on Monument Avenue. Those are going to be critical for the overall team win, but that explosion that you'll be hearing around the world will be the riders breaking the sonic barrier there on Libby Hill, as this sprint will be a 1-minute power test for the ages. So, Matt, we're going to look to find out who the top sprinter is in the ZRL today.
Yeah, I like your use of the word sonic boom. There's going to be some big booms. There's going to be some booms out the back, some booms off the front. That is the course that we're looking at. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, Dave. We'll just pull out a few of the teams. We've got 20 teams in the Premier League at the moment. Let's pull out a few squads that we should be definitely looking out for tonight.
Let me just jump in with Saris, the Pros Closet, Matt. This team is in a real fight right now for second, or, as you said, anything can happen. Maybe they end up on the top of the table, but they've got the American champion Holden Camo, who is a wattage monster. We looked at Ollie Jones, that sprint that he had last week right behind Freddie Ovett. These are the names to watch, but let me throw a wild card. I'm going to throw 2 wild cards at you here. As Insured, presented by Pedal Power, they've got Brian Hodges to watch, and then World Elite Zwifters. This might be their breakthrough day. The Brazilian Franklin Almeida will be looking to win first time ever for a South African if he can get it done today. But boy, I tell you what, you're right, Matt. Freddie Ovett has been en fuego.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so impressive. I mean, it wasn't just the win, was it? It was the way he just dispatched quite easily. I said you didn't even need to use those power-ups. He was so strong. He's got all of his timing dialed. But another couple of names that I'm just going to pick out the hat as well. Riders that we know are really classy, that I think will love this finish. Have to talk about Lionel Vujasan. Hasn't been out of the top 3. Podiumed every single race. Mr. Consistent, but lacking that big win. And also Dan Fleeman from the Saris and the Pros Closet. He likes this circuit. He's won on this circuit before, though it didn't finish on the top of this climb. It finished, of course, back in the centre of town. The finish for the World Championships back in Richmond. But yeah, Dan Fleeman and Lionel Vujasan are my picks. It's also worth mentioning as well that there's only 2 power-ups that are going to be used. There's a 50-50 split in relation to the chances to get them, and that is the draft and the aero power-up. And there are 6 sprints, as Dave described. 5 laps of the Monument Avenue sprint, or 5 times through the Monument Avenue sprint. Then we have one more cheeky sprint before the one to the line, and that is in Broad Street. So as Dave illustrated, lots of opportunity to score points out on the road, which we saw the teams for going for those really hard last week. So without further ado, they're in the pens. Dave, we've got about 30 seconds before they hit the skids. Let's get into the pens. Let's see this start. We've missed the start the last couple of days. Let's just look at the type of power that these guys deliver at the top. And this is going to be could be quite a tactical one today, Dave, but I'm expecting it to be very fast. It's going to be one of the shortest races too in terms of time, only 33 Ks.
Yeah, quite a difference from last week, Matt, on Whole Lot of Lava, as this is going to be fast and furious. We've entered the launch code. It's been approved, and it is andiamo time as the riders are now out on course. So, Matt, yeah, we're going to put 10 pounds of racing into a 5-pound bag here, because this one is going to go by very quickly. Expect incredible animation on these sprints. So, Pan Flats isn't quite complete completely flat, but at this level, Matt, everybody's going to be in contention here. The teams are going to be working hard to try to set up their riders. I have to look now. There's so much to talk about. So first off, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. This is going to be our final points race of Season 2 as we're jumping in here now in the first kilometer. And, Matt, I have to say that for some riders, this is the day they've been waiting for really 2 seasons now. The sprinters haven't had an opportunity quite like this. I'm calling it the finale tartar. It's raw watts at the end of this race that's going to decide it. And I expect every single hitter will be there ready to contest. I can't imagine that they're going to let this opportunity slip through their fingers.
No, they're certainly not. But it's you say it's one for the sprinters, it's one for that can hold the power. But again, because of the length of the climb, it's around a minute of an effort. But the road, and they really will feel it today because the road actually drags up almost from the U-turn at the farthest corner of the circuit. The road picks up, it's about 2%, then flattens a bit. But it's going to be about 1 minute and 30 seconds of real effort. And I do think, although it's going to be hard, there is an opportunity for somebody to go a little bit long there, maybe using that kind of draft power up to kind of slingshot themselves out of the bunch. It's going to be fascinating which power up they get as well in the finale. Remember, no featherweight power up for that final climb as we've seen before. So the power ups are going to be really, really key as we look at ones to watch today, Dave. So pick us, well, we're going to get some teams up on the screen in just a second. Talk us through squad and number 1, Dave.
Yeah, this is a day that every team has been waiting for as their sprinter gets their shot. Ollie Jones and Lionel Viasen. These are 2 of the real standout riders on the team this year, but that's the secret to Canyon Esports' success, is that every one of these guys has contributed in a major way. Now, you never know. You know, the rider that you're talking about, that late race attack, maybe it's the South African, Gary Mueller today. That would be absolutely perfect because it would help set up Lionel and Ollie for the finale. I mean, Canyon is going to look to do what Canyon does, which is put 3 riders inside the top 10, but it's going to be bedlam today on Libby Hill, and we'll just see where the chips land. But that's a good look at the top team in esports today on the men's side of the sport, Canyon Esports.
Yeah, Canyon, as I said, they are the team that's focused so hard on the team. This is the team that really set things up early on. 3 wins for PO Auto Ceramic Speed. They've dialed both of the team time trials, winning in New York and on the RGV course. Emil Tuda, Frederick Muff, very, very quick indeed. Joachim Lisson, Michael Knudsen and Nicholas Pedersen, a medalist, remember, in the UCI Esports World Championships back in December. They really have a team that could do something today. They can win on all sorts of terrain, but in particular they'll be eyeing, I think, the time trial next week. And Dave, it's well, we've got one more team to look at before we talk a little bit more, because there is so much to talk about. But talk us through Saris and the Pros Closet, 2nd overall.
Yes, we're just about 1 kilometer from our first bonus sprint. Here's a rider to watch without any doubt. Right in the middle there, Holden Tomo. He is the American champion. He's been ranked number 1 on Zwift Power for quite a while throughout his career, but he tactically has things dialed, Matt. I would expect if he goes outside of the top 3, I'm going to be shocked today. I've heard you talking about Dan Fleeman, another rider to watch. They're going to need every one of these danger men, as Gavin Dempster also is going to come into play, along with Ryan Larson, who was 3rd last week. So look at this team, Matt. Sarah's the Pros Closet. They're going to be in the conversation, and they would love to have a shot at being the number 1 team in esports, as we were just talking about Canyon. They're so close that they can taste it right now. So that's a good look at some of the teams to watch. First sprint comes up very, very quickly here. And again, these are scored 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points across the line. And Matt, I'm saying that these points are going to be absolutely critical today, as it looks like we've got, this is the green of PO Auto that we're looking at right now, deploying what you mentioned, Arrow and Draft are the 2 power-ups. It's Restart, I apologize.
Yeah, it's good to see Restart in the mix there, Dave. I originally thought it was PO Auto. They've got a very, very similar strip, but look at Restart. They're sitting in 17th place overall, and they're going for it. They're setting, you know, the cat amongst the pigeons here early on. They've got a bit of a team time trial formation, and Jaeger, Zamrodzic, and Leclerc have gone through it. And Dave, they've got a 4-second lead. This is so great to see. Wonderful to see how some of the smaller teams, the teams, not the heavyweight teams, are happy to get stuck under the circuit. This clearly, to me, was pre-planned, but really, really lovely to see Jager, Zamrodzic and Leclerc, 2 Americans and a Canadian, off the front for Restart Racing. Wonderful stuff so early in the race. A couple of power-ups being used, heading towards the sprint now. This is wonderful to see. They really were mixing it up, and I think it's actually somebody thinks it's Welling, I think, or Howell. Welling takes that one. I think it was Welling, Zipper Welling of Bolt Racing. It takes the first one, but Restart looked like they got second and third. Well, I didn't expect anybody to go off the front so early, but clearly some teams have got these pre-formulated plans and are willing to get up. Do you know what? The penultimate points race, why not throw everything in the kitchen sink at this race?
I always love the dynamic, Matt, when everybody talks about the race being a sprint, when teams try to upset that apple cart. That was Welling, but I did see that Howell Davies was up there as well. So it's very, very animated. I mean, Matt, if that's what the first bonus sprint looks like, imagine what today is going to be. As teams are already playing their cards out here. They're not going to wait around, that's for sure. There's Ed Veal again. He was an animator last week. We talked about him doing some tenderizing out there, and Ed Veal's another rider that is going to be really loving an opportunity to race on this Libby Hill after party course. It's an interesting name. I actually, when I first heard that, I thought we were going to be doing nothing but going up and over Libby Hill and 23rd over and over, but it's decidedly not that. It's all about the after party being on Libby Hill after just a flat-out drag race around the streets of Richmond. As our colleague Hannah was saying earlier, you're almost dizzy by the time you get spit out of the circuits and then drop down on the ride over to Libby Hill.
Yeah, they're moving very, very quickly. As you said, it's not long, because obviously it's only a small circuit that they're doing. Then they've got the long run in to the far end of the circuit, when then they start to commence the climb of Libby Hill. We've got the points that have just come through. Zibrin Welling takes 3 points, Yaden Yaga and then Daniel Zambrotzik. They are the teams that have scored the points. We're going to have, the points are going to come through a little bit later than they have in previous weeks. WTRL, thank you to WTRL for supporting us with the tech side of things. So just bear with us as we roll through. So we will get those point scores to you, but they'll be a little bit delayed than in previous weeks. So a big thumbs up to WTRL. And also, Dave, let's get some thumbs up for these riders as well. Get on your companion app, give these riders a ride on. It's the last opportunity in a points race scenario, a scratch race scenario, to get behind these riders, and we'll give you the running totals of a ride-ons as we look at Restart. Well, they have really restarted, haven't they? Restart with 3 and Bolt Racing with 3. Interesting there, Dave, that none of the other bigger teams went for that sprint. They were caught, sort of not napping, but definitely caught, they had the element of surprise there.
Interesting too, you only have so many resources to use, and I think that they decided that at this point early in the race, let's not burn a match so early here, as this one is heavily weighted towards the end of the race. But it's really nice to see teams like Bolt and Restart getting up in the mix. Jaden Yeager is out of Wisconsin here in the United States, is a master racer, Matt. He's been a multi-time national champion as well, an exceptional time trialist. And we watched him do basically a short 2-kilometer time trial there to be able to pick up some of the points. It was Welling that came over the line first. We'll get another crack at that one here in just another minute or so here. We take a look at the group all together. They're going to keep the accelerator down on the floorboard here. Might as well just duct tape it there, to tell you the truth, Matt, because they're not going to back off at any point out here today. Just run her wide open, boys.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing today, Dave. I think we are going to see, apart from the little accelerations or the big accelerations for those sprints, as we look at, let's make no bones about it, the man of the moment over the last couple of weeks, Freddie Ovett, 2 wins for him. Remember also last year, a win in the virtual Tour de France. He is one of the preeminent esports racers, without a shadow of a doubt. He's got 71 ride-ons as well. We're just cruising at the moment. 4.1 watts a kilo, which is enough to put a lot of people in intensive care. But yeah, he's riding exceptionally well, 154 beats a minute. He is very, very composed. But Dave, I think before we get into the sharp end of this race, the way that Freddie Ovett kind of took that race apart this week, we've been commentating on Zwift Esports for quite a while now. We've seen the racing just get better and better, but I've never seen one individual take apart a race like Ovett did. He really is something pretty special.
couldn't agree more. On World of Zwift last week, Matt, we talked about, is he a one-man team? And I was saying, well, he could be. He's not, because Legion of LA has so much talent on that squad. But yeah, he's a great example. I don't know, Matt, you must have been pretty young in 1980, but that Moscow Olympic Games, his father won the gold medal in the 800 meters, which is, I think most people who follow track and field look at the 400 and the 800 as maybe the two most painful events, Matt. Do you think that's fair to say? I would say that maybe general consensus talks about, I mean, you look at how fast they're going these days. Running the 800 meters is basically running at the 100-meter pace for 800 meters. And that was what his dad did back in 1980. So that pedigree really speaks to, you know, I'm sure you've seen a lot of that in your career, where there's something about genetics in cycling, there's something about work ethic, and there's something about opportunity, and I think Freddie Oven has made the most of everything.
He certainly has. Well, he's definitely got the genes there. It's interesting that Freddie has taken up cycling, but yeah, I was a big fan of Steve. But I was 10 years of age, Dave, too. That ages me, doesn't it? I was 10 years of age in 1980. I remember watching the Olympics. Him and Sebastian Coe were battling it out, and Ovet wasn't expected to win the 800 metres. He doubled up in the 1500 metres, but won the one that he wasn't almost supposed to win, but a real icon of British middle distance running, and a very similar kind of effort. I was a runner. I did 800 metres, so I know what you're talking about there, Dave. As we head, these sprints are coming thick and fast, aren't they? Look at all the power-ups that are being dropped. We've got 150 metres to go of this sprint. Let's have a look who is at the head of affairs. It's Tanner Ward. Tanner Ward has got a nice lead there, but Lindqvist looks like he's going to take him on the line. Lindqvist, I think, gets that one. So Lindqvist of the team at Swedish Swifters will get confirmation of that in just a might be Williams as well. So Tyler Williams took that one. I do apologise. Similar kit there. We'll get confirmation of second and third, but a great sprint there, Dave.
Yeah, and Tyler Williams is the perfect example. There's also Corey Williams racing out here. They're not brothers on the same Legion of LA team, who both have a very similar sprint. And you know what this tells me now, Matt? Little analysis for you here is that Freddie is going to let his teammates go for these points. Legion of LA is making a big step forward now as Tyler Williams there picks up 5 bonus points, and Freddie is just keeping that powder dry. We're joining Tyler Williams there in Santa Rosa, California. This is a well-known cycling destination in the United States. It doesn't get better than Santa Rosa, to tell you the truth. That's the home of Levi's Gran Fondo, and Pete Stetna lived up there. So a lot of riding talent there, just north of, about 100 miles north of San Francisco. Tyler Williams rode for the Israel Cycling Academy team. He's had quite a career, that's for sure. As Freddie Oven also. So these guys have been teammates before they were on Legion. So Legion just reinforcing with quality young riders, a team for the future without any doubt when you talk about Legion of LA. And Matt, I mean, I have to agree with you as far as when you look at how this one plays out today. The podium's probably not going to be that different than what we saw in Whole Lotta Lava, to tell you the truth. I would expect Dan Larson to be up there again. He was third last week. And Freddie Ovet just getting the better of Ollie Jones. So I think we're going to find out more who's willing to hurt the most on Libby Hill. That's the brutal reality of that sprint. You're just going to be scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, you certainly are. We just saw the draft saving on the bottom of your screen there. Hopefully we'll get that back up again, and that's in conjunction. We'll have basically draft saving is something that we introduced actually last week as we look at the current situation. Ward, O'Brien, Kershaw just rotating at the front. We should be getting the points through in just a few seconds' time. There they are, right on cue. It was indeed, as you correctly said, Tyler Williams who took that sprint, Martin Lindqvist in second place, and then Brian Hodges in third. So that does say a lot. I mean, and the thing is, the finish, Dave, compared to last week, although we saw Ovet take those sprints last time, there were hill climbs, and the finish was flat. This time we've got flat sprints and a hill climb finish as we look, restart racing with 3, equal with Bolt. Legion then now equal on third place. But yeah, it's clear to us in these early stages that they're distributing the workload, aren't they, quite clearly, because the finish is a really different proposition to Larksweet's finish. That was a more of a classic flattest sprint, but this is a minute and a half. It's like an 80-90 second all-out effort. So Ovet really does need to keep it, as you know, we use that commentator's cliche again. He needs to keep his powder dry, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize. There's we have the community racing. We were thanking WTRL earlier for the amazing job that they do in jumping in and helping out here today. So the points are different when you go in between. It's actually kind of funny because I wasn't right for either league these days, because they score at 10 deep in community and 3 deep here, not 5 deep. So apologize for that. But Matt, you're absolutely right. And that's the sign of it when a team has really matured, when they're able to fight on different fronts, right? Going for bonus sprints with some riders, keeping other riders in reserve for the finale. And I'm going to expect that. Watch this next bonus sprint coming up, as this is Holden Camo that we're looking at, a rider that I've tipped to be certainly, if he goes outside of the top 5 today, that will be a major disappointment, and Holden is here to win. There's no doubt about it, and that would help his team's cause quite a bit, as they are in a pitched battle, only 2 points separating them from PO Auto Ceramic Speed. So that's one of the most interesting points on the table to look at, Matt. 2nd and 3rd right now, and to be honest, a lot of things will pivot off of Holden Camo today.
Yeah, did you just see that, David? Again, this picture-in-picture, I kind of wish we could have a lot more picture-in-picture, because it's so interesting. He was sat there on his phone, probably on Discord or WhatsApp, contacting his team. Maybe he was on Instagram and just did a selfie, who knows? But he was kicking out around 400 watts, as we see. Looks like another, it's Daniel Zamrodzik. The American has gone clear again. Restart Racing, loving this today. His teammate Jada Jager is also there, so it's great to see Restart Racing really getting in the mix, and they're clearly fired up, clearly had a great warm-up, and just want to take it to the other teams, because they are unfortunately in the drop zone towards the back end. Remember, this is a league where we have a champion, we have 2nd and 3rd, but we also have teams that will move down into the community divisions, and the community teams move up. So maybe they're just trying to move up. So we could see a separate little battle here, Dave.
Yeah, this is the breakthrough ride for Restart, no doubt about it. They have shown up with full force, and it looks like they're going to try to sweep some more points off of the table here. Again, 3, 2, and 1 for the 3rd bonus sprint that we have coming up. So this really spices things up here on the Pan Flats. Again, Libby Hill after party. Boy, another commentator's gem, Matt, would be the sting is in the tail, right, with the course. Well, that could not be any more true than it is here today.
Yeah, definitely. Just coming up to the neck, a little bit of a launch there. There's a couple of little splits. So riders can, I did think that we'd see the bunch staying together just a little bit long, but it's Brooke who is now going clear.
Matt Brooke.
Matt Brooke of the Bolt Racing team. The Bolt Racing team's currently sitting 11th, so good to see Brooke. He's 10 watts a kilo there. He's opened up a couple of gaps. Actually, the group behind are kind of spread over 2 or 3 seconds. It looked like Brooke is going to take this one. Tanner Ward in 2nd place for Turbo. So Brooke takes it, Tanner Ward in 2nd, and the Dutch Racing have made the appearance. It was Bertus Turksma who looks like he took 3rd place. And Rijkaard goes, one of your favourite riders, Rijkaard now, the German for the Kirkmare team, new to this division. They really impressed early on, didn't they, Dave? That team Tantrell back in France. It is Rijkaard who has now gone clear.
And they're still sitting in the top 10 on the season table. Ingo Rijkaard here, the German rider, opening up a gap. It's going to be interesting to see how the teams want to play their cards here. I think that Ingo, though, will be wise enough to just sit up and rejoin the group here, as we're going to hit the mid part of this race pretty quickly. Again, it's 33 and a little change kilometers of racing out here. These sprints, though, certainly softening things up out here. The peloton looks like a boa constrictor swallowing a basketball right now. Big bulge right in the middle, but some riders stringing off the back, some dangling off the front. So certainly active out there.
Yeah, Dave, I've just got to say chapeau. Another one of the most wonderful metaphors that I've heard in a bike race, whether in a IRL or in on esports, Dave. So great descriptions there. So great to have you along, giving us that added value, mate. Wonderful stuff. Now the draft saving on the right-hand side, we've got Ingo Rijkaard here. Anybody new and looking, think, well, what's draft saving? He was off the front. He's now within the bunch. And because of the draft benefits of sitting within the peloton, he's actually saving 235 watts compared to the rider that is taking the most wind on the front. So, Dave, a really good insight into how much these riders save. That is massive. But it just says that the rider on the front is probably going at around 450 watts easy when you're on the front at this sort of speed, at this sort of level.
Boy, and it really speaks to, Matt, the finale of this race and how seriously these teams are taking it, right? The fact that so last week we watched Freddie Ovett sweep all of the bonus sprints and take the final. Haven't seen him put his nose in the wind yet, Matt. What does that tell you? Or the virtual wind, I should say. But what does that tell you as far as I have to think it's a little more sophisticated game plan from Legion of LA today.
Yeah, I think they definitely want to they want to get another victory on the board, move up the rankings themselves. That's the points on this. That's the point, should I say, so far. Bolt Racing having a wonderful night in first with 6. Restart, Legion, and on the same points as Legion. Sorry, Restart with 3. Then we have Kirkby with 2, and then Team Swedish Zwifters with 2 points. So a great start by Bolt. Solid performance there by Legion of Los Angeles. Remember, 6 opportunities before the finish to get points. And a bit of a reminder for anybody watching, maybe for the first time, and intrigued at this proposition. This is a scratch points race. So first across the line is the winner, but there are points allocated out on the course that the riders can accumulate for their team. There are points for the first 30 riders across the line, and it's the team with the most points at the end of the night that wins the night. It's all about the points, but of course there is individual glory at stake here as well, Dave.
Yeah, and it's a really top-heavy points table, Matt, when you look at it, with 40 for the win, 35 for second, 30 for third, and then it really starts to drop off at that point into 1 point per placing, really from, let's say, 6th, 7th on down. So getting up on that virtual podium is a big deal. There's a lot of points, the lion's share of points there with 40 for the winner. And so what that tells you is all of these sprints so far, you can see that the major players out here, the PO Autos, the Ceres, the Pros Closets, they're not playing around looking to pick up dribs and drabs. I think they're saving everything for the finale here, which is the only team really 3 points that we saw there for Legion of LA. This is the Dutch racing team that we're looking at. They've already got a win this year. This is one of their strong riders, Rick Otema here. And you get another good feel for, I mean, look at the watts that he is making here, sitting right around 4.5, well, now over 5 watts per kilo. It's not an easy ride to the bottom of Libby Hill. You can see why these guys are trying to keep their TSS or their Zwift efficiency. With TSS you want it low, but with Zwift efficiency you want it high, don't you? Just trying to stay out of the wind.
Exactly. Rick Otema there. They're the team that sit currently in 4th place overall. They've had a great season so far. Remember, Canyon Esports lead with 113 points. Saris and the Pros Closet there in the green, white and yellow kit. They've got a cracking lineup with 104. PO Auto Ceramic Speed are 3rd with 102. And it's quite tight between 4th and 5th. Then there's a bit of a drop-off. So Dutch Racing and Legion of Los Angeles in a real tussle. And there is a possibility that if they have an exceptional night and PO Auto Ceramic Speed have another bad night, that we could see a bit of a shuffle round. So with 2 rounds to go, Dave, anything could still happen. There are real opportunities to move up, aren't there?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where now you have to be realistic as well. And for these teams, trying to move up into the top 5, the top 10 is going to be the name of the game. That's Tom Thrall, the Canadian. There's another rider here, Chris McGlinchey from Northern Ireland on the Vetus team. He's a rider that should be liking the finale today, but you can take a look at how ragged it's getting on the front of the group, Matt. Then another sprint coming up here very, very quickly.
Yeah,
and McGlinchey's going to make a big run at this one.
He's always easy to see, isn't he? Because he's one of the few riders. I've done about the aerodynamic advance of wearing a cloth cap in game, but we are rounding that corner. Things are starting to kick off now, but it has really strung out. Load of van drafts being used. Of course, that's gives you added benefit of draft when you sat behind another rider. It's the aero power that increases your drag efficiency, your co-efficiency at the front. Big sprint here. Tyler Williams again. Gledness. Oh, it looks like Tyler Williams got that from Gledness, who's already won a round, remember. Well, Legion of Los Angeles looking dialed tonight, and Tyler Williams on fire.
Yeah. Of the last 8 sprints that we've had going back to a whole lot of lava, Legion of LA has won 7 of them. It's either Tyler Williams or Freddie Ovett here. These guys don't miss a step out here, talking about Legion of LA. What does that tell you for Freddie Ovett? I mean, there is no doubt in the finale that the conversation includes that name, that's for sure.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, he is just waiting, biding his time. He wants to be as fresh as possible, because if you make too many efforts on a course like this, given the very nature. It's not just a 10-second effort, it's not a 15-second sprint, it is a minute and a half, because as we come on, as we look at Ashton, who's just clipped off the front here, the Scottish rider riding for Vitus Esports, about to be reabsorbed by the rest of the bunch. Dave, it is worth repeating that the kind of effort they're having to make, and there's no opportunity really to climb, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to the system, isn't it? That last K and a half when the road starts to grab out, it's going to be a real shock. Just an affirmation of the points here. Tyler Williams with 3, Harvard Geddes in second place with 2, and then your tip, Franklin Almeida, there in third place. The first time we've seen him tonight. He's obviously feeling pretty good as well.
I'd say the first time we've seen that name all season, to tell you the truth, Matt. This guy has an amazing power profile. He's the only rider that on paper can go over 1,300 watts for 10 seconds. So that's certainly a powerhouse, no doubt about it. So taking a look at how the points have been distributed out here now, it's even there with Legion and Bolt sitting on 6. So a lot still to come here. I'd almost say at this point now, though, if you were going to score this one, which we don't in cycling, but if you're to look at basically it's halftime here, Legion of LA, to me, has been the most impressive up till this point, but patience is a virtue at this level in the ZRL. And sometimes being able to hold back a little bit pays off in a major way later in the race. But Legion of LA is looking to be a team that has their cake and eats it too.
Indeed.
They might pull it off today.
Yeah, they might do. There's still a big group here. We expected there to be a big group that goes through to finish. One more sprint. We've had 4 sprints of Monument Avenue. And as you said earlier on, Dave, the kilometres today are ticking by very, very quickly indeed. A high average speed, 21.6 under the virtual wheels tonight so far. 26 minutes have elapsed, 11.5 k's to go. We've got another lap. We're going to go through the Monument Avenue sprint. Then contrary to what I said at the top of the show, there is not a sprint at Broad Street at all. So no sprint at Broad Street. The next sprint is the final one. Then we have that running to the line. So yeah, it's worth a... So we've got one more sprint to know now as Sogren hits the front.
If I was the team director or assistant director with you, we both would have gotten a tongue lashing from the team today for bad information coming from the team car. It happens, doesn't it? It's a complex league, and that's part of what makes this so much fun in the ZRL. And a quick chance to mention and wish good luck to everybody racing out there in the community tomorrow is, Matt, there are, I think, something like 1,250 teams competing in the ZRL right now. This is the very, very high end that we're looking at. We call this the Premier League, and our men are stuck in right now as they've already completed 22.5 kilometers. We talked about Libby Hill coming up at the end of this race. It's actually interesting, Matt. You get a chance, and it's a little bit unfortunate if you're a rider that was looking to make a breakaway happen in the final part of the race, because there is a long downhill run once we leave the circuits to the bottom. Well, actually, you make a 180-degree U-turn, and then that starts the climbing up to the base of Libby Hill. So taking a look at the Belladon Grupo Compacto all together now. So I would have to say the race is living up to the expectations that we had up till this point, but you never know when someone's going to throw a hand grenade in the middle of this group out here. Restart has certainly made some big efforts out there. That's Jordan Shane that we're looking at. Previous winner, Gelnus there. Havard, very strong rider on the Callis team, who certainly... There's so many quality riders in the ZRL, Matt. It is really, really hard to break down a top 5, right? Because you always, like with Franklin Almeida, he's the kind of rider that could win here today, and you never want to discount those chances. But then you've got, you know, the prohibitive favorites that you're looking at, the Comots, the Ovets, the Joneses, and the other name that I did want to mention, because again, having a very solid ride by staying quiet out there, would be in short pedal power rider Brian Hodges. He can make watts, no doubt about it. It's going to come down to, are you in position to be an impact in the sprint? Can't get caught out. That means being very, very attentive from here on in, because Matt, we've just entered the business end of this race.
We certainly have. We're on the 10k to go now, 9.4 to be exact. And as you said, it's worth just reminding you who the individual winners have been in Richmond. It was the Dutchman Michael Voets ahead of Vidar Mel. Then in Innsbruck, it was Freddie Ovet ahead of Lionel Vujasan. Then in Harrogate, it was the aforementioned Harvard Glednes of Callas who took victory ahead of Freddie Ovet, who's been so consistent. And then last week, in the whole lot of lava, it was Ovet from Vujasan from Emil Tudal. That was the top three. We'll see something similar today, but I think given this is the final race, the final points race, we might see a couple of other riders in the mix as we look at Vidal coming towards that sprint again. It's a Davis on the front and Voits as well. Big move here by Davis. Ewell Davis, the Welshman from the Bolt Racing team. He's not got a power up. Is he going to be taken over on the line? Oh, this is very close. It's Veal, as you said, who took the win there. The Canadian riding for Team Draft. Good to see Draft back in the mix there. Way down the rankings at the moment in 13th, but good to see Veal showing a clean pair of heels to everybody else. 8.5 to go, Dave. No more sprints. The next sprint is going to be the one to the line.
Hashtag Canuck up. Great job by Ed Veal out here. He's quickly making himself into a known name here in the ZRL, and that is awesome to see. The Canadians out of North America here always punch above their weight. That is for sure as we take a look at the group. So, all right, that's put paid to all of our bonus sprints here now as we're going to start the process of moving into the finale. I don't know, Matt, as far as how much your team can really help you position out here, but again, look at all the Canyon riders starting to move up now. Here we go. You can tell that we're moving into a new phase of the race here just by the spearhead shape of the front of the group right now.
Yep, we've got, just checking back down, there's the confirmation. Veal takes that sprint from Davis. Carroll in third place. But there are 79 riders, Dave. There have been a few tailed off because of the high speed, but there are yet 78 riders in that front group at the moment. Bolt Racing Team lead on the night out from points taken out on the road. Legion strong as ever in second place with 6. Then Restart equal with Draft with 3. And then Kirkbear have a solitary point with 7.4 kilometres to go. And it won't be long before we hit that little bit of section of the course, Dave, where it's the first bit of downhill. Of course, what goes up must come down. So they drop down before picking up at Libby's Hill. Potential opportunity for somebody to go clear, but I think with so much at stake now and such a big group, I think for one individual to go clear on that descent, Dave, it's going to be hard. But before Libby Hill, there's a couple of little rollers, aren't there, as well, that are easy to kick up and do provide a small opportunity for a long ranger to go clear.
I would expect that you see exactly that, Matt. To tell you the truth, maybe a PO Auto rider along with the top 3 teams I'm anticipating are going to launch some kind of an early attack and maybe see who they can bait out, or certainly try to get the other teams to initiate the chasing and give their sprinters a free ride to the bottom of Libby Hill. When you make that hard right-hand turn, Matt, that's an interesting point there, because if you're making 9.5 watts per kilo, it's a minute from bottom to top on Libby Hill. These guys will be making more than 9.5 watts per kilo, to tell you the truth. A guy like Freddie is in that the rare air of 17 watts per kilo. Now, how long they can hold that is a different story, but yeah, this is Canyon doing what Canyon does so well. Here we go. All right, notice the names changing on the front, as these are the headliners. Only heavy hitters need apply now at the front. Okay, we're done joking around out here, Matt. It just got real. Take a look at the guys that are now trying to start positioning their team for the finale that they're looking for. That's going to be the South African rider. Very strong. What a great teammate Gary Mueller is as well. This is the kind of guy you want riding shotgun with you in a battle like this.
Yeah, well, they've got so many runs, so consistent. A reminder that Canyon Esports, they lead. They have not been out of the top 3. So consistent, and that's what it takes. And they have such a a squad that's rich in talent, deep in strength. A reminder, Alex West, Gary Mueller on the screen at the moment, kicking out 350 watts. So he's having to ride just to stay in this group at or around 5 watts a kilo, which is absolutely mind-blowing. The ever-present Lionel Villasan has not been out of the top 3. So consistent this season. Will this be the night for him? Ollie Jones is there as well, the former winner of the Zwift Academy, and then Spencer Segerbrook, the American. So what a squad they have. But again, they've got Saris in the pros closet in second overall, who have got options tonight, haven't they, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. It's really interesting when you watch the front, the tête de la course of the bike race, how these guys want to be near the front, but not on the actual front. It is such a fine line there, finding the sweet spot here, because even at this level, if they burn one extra match out here, that's going to make the difference in the last 20 meters. It is, as Somerset Mom says, a razor's edge at this level, the difference between a victory or a heartbreaking defeat. Frederick Muff there, of one of the Danish riders there on PO Auto, moving up.
Yeah, there we go. And this is a first glimpse today of Takado Ikeda. They've been great, haven't they? Zwift Warriors cycling, Dave. I mean, it's worth mentioning them again. He was third, wasn't he? His best ride of the season so far. That was in Innsbruck. Again, that was a long old climb, a different effort, but they have really excelled, haven't they? Sitting in there towards the back, he clearly knows how to ride, doesn't he? Because if you do sit towards the back, okay, it's not the best position because you've got to move up. But in terms of saving watts, saving power, sitting towards the back of that group is the place to go. Bit of an aero super tuck there as well. They've got him above 58 k's an hour. So a little bit of an opportunity, the only really opportunity to get some rest. And look at that, saving 300 watts. That's what it's all about. You want to get that TSS score as low as you can. Save that power, because Takata Ikeda, he's going to like this climb. Maybe he'd like a slightly longer effort, but if they do start to increase the pace with about 1,500 meters to go, Dave, it could suit him.
Yeah, I agree. I really think, Matt, that experience is going to be a massive part of being successful in this finish, and that's why I keep looking at Holden Camo as well. This guy has cracked the code time and time. Yeah, he is a safe-cracking professional in the world of esports. There is no doubt about it, as I have to think that he has seen this finish more times than any other rider in this race. And again, no reason to be on the front, but Matt, boy, you find yourself in the back half of the group right now. You realize how hard it's going to be to move up. Again, they've got this absolutely pinned out here right now as we're inside of 3K to go. So get your bets in. Who's going to get it done here today on the Libby Hill after party? A sprinter's delight. It reminds me of when they added in Zolder to the World Championships to give Mario Cipollini a chance to win a World Championship. Well, here, this is our Sprinters World Championship in the ZRL, Matt. Sprinters have never had a better shot at a win here. Biggest group that we're going to bring to the line. This is a very, very unique finale here in the ZRL.
It's absolutely fascinating stuff. O'Brien, Collard rotating. We've got that washing machine effect. Lots of a Legion of Los Angeles jersey there. Vitus Pro Cycling. McGlinchey in the centre. This is that little rise that I was talking about. But again, given the momentum that they've got, given the speed that they're going, it was hardly even a blip to them. That's almost like a little coal when I ride it. I really do notice it, but they've almost like smoothed it out like a gigantic multicolored carbon fiber virtual steamroller as we head into the back end of this race. 2.2 Ks to go. The speed are starting to ramp up, still hovering around 4 or 5 watts per kilogram. Dave, this is going to be absolutely thrilling.
World elite Zwifter rider at the top of the show. We mentioned Franklin Almeida. He is perfectly positioned here. He has got to be champing at the bit right now to get a crack at this one. All right, Matt, there's not much anyone can do for you now. It is every man for himself. We've got a classic OSS situation. Only the strong survive. It's going to come down to who can make the most watts. I mean, this will go down as a sprint with where raw watts have never been more important. And Franklin, again, is the only guy that puts it up into the 1300s out here. But then again, you got to look at Freddie Ovitt. I mean, that guy, like a cocktail napkin with an outboard motor attached to it. He's so strong and so light. Is he going to be the kind of rider that can find success here today on Libby Hill After Party for his third win? Unprecedented if he can pull it off here in the ZRL. There have been a couple of our women who have done it as well. Catherine Curie is one of them. But here we go. We are locked and loaded. This is not a drill as we come up on 1K to go. And there you go. It looks like it's Legion of LA. And Corey Williams going to move up to the front as they're going to try to set the table for Freddie Ovitt to lick his plate clean.
Well, it is Legion of Los Angeles for Frederick Muff is there as well. Corey Williams already had a win out there. Tyler Williams too. His job is now done. A lot of these power-ups are being used. The draft power-up to save that little bit of energy. Remember, the climb itself only 600 meters long. Average is 6.5%. There's a mini little plateau about halfway up, but the bunch is starting to thin now. Williams, Sogren, Muff. They're just going underneath the bridge. And in a few moments' time, they'll see that little bit of a right hand. The heart rates are going up. The power are turning orange. 500 meters to go now, Dave.
This is where they are absolutely going to be turning themselves inside out. Here comes Canyon. Here comes Canyon. They're making their move as we're going to slam this right-hand turn and be up onto Libby Hill. It is on like Donkey Kong from here on in, Matt.
Well, here we go. Jones goes. Franklin is there. Ovett as well. Ollie Jones on the front for Canyon Esports, but I think Ovett's gone early. Ovett is in the lead here. Ovett is absolutely romping up this climb, making it look like it's downhill.
Wow.
Incredible performance from Ovett. 13.5 watts a kilo. Takes it by, well, several lengths. Ovett makes it 3 from 3. I think it was Thrall who took second place there. Well, Ollie Jones it was, but what a performance from Freddie Ovett. I've never seen anybody hit that climb with so much pace. He was invisible for most of the day, looked after by his team, but hit that climb and just nobody could stay with him. What a performance by Ovett.
Boom, boom, out go the lights. Freddie Ovett, the biggest star in esports today for the Legion of LA team. Well, Matt, everybody had their eyes on him. He was the most marked rider in the race, and today Freddie Ovett sets a record.
Incredible, as you said. Look at that, a whole second in front. Freddie Ovett takes the win for Legion of Los Angeles. Thomas Thrall of Canada and Insured is in second place there. Great ride by him. Ollie Jones, the first rider home from Canyon Esports, in the third. Holden Kumil, one of our tips up there for Saris and the Pros Closet, in fourth. Lionel Vuyasan, ever-present Lionel Vuyasan, in fifth for Belgium, the second home from Canyon. Tyler Williams, well, great performance. Legion with 2 in the top 10. Great riding by then. But Gary Muller there from South Africa and Canyon Esports in 7th. So the third rider home, so 3 in the top 10 for Canyon Esports. That looks good. Franklin Almeida is there. Great performance by him in 8th. Joachim Lissen, the first rider home from PO Auto Ceramic Speed. And then Pim van Diemen rounding out the top 10. Well, looking at that, Dave, great performance by Legion, but with 3 riders in the top 10, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. It's looking good for Canyon.
That's been the secret to their success. That was an absolutely trademark Canyon performance out here in so many ways. And boy, Legion of LA, Matt, they're getting closer and closer. You could see that Tyler Williams got up there. Corey Williams helped set that up again. So they've got the team playing their roles. They're firing on all cylinders out there. It just shows you how good Canyon is. And you can see they're on top of the table still. 8-point advantage now over Saris the Pros Closet. And I think we're going to hold for a second on that. Doesn't look like we've got all the data entered there. I'm going to just back off for a moment. I apologize.
That's the points to gather tonight on the night, which will be converted into points for the overall. Yep. But Canyon, they've taken the night. 98 points for them. Saris and the Pros Closet in second. Great performance by Legion in third. PO Auto Ceramic Speed there in fourth. Fifth, Insured, powered by Pedal Power. Equal, in fact, with Dutch Racing there. Vitus, good ride by them in seventh. World of Elite Zwifters up there as well. They'll be pretty happy with that in eighth. Callis Esports in ninth. No Pins R3RE Racing rounding out our top 10. Well, there we go. 8 points in it in the end. Another superb performance from Canyon Esports, who are going to be very, very happy with that. But what can you say about Legion of Los Angeles, Freddie Ovett? A hat-trick of wins. And as you just said, take your words again, the most dominant male rider in esports in 2021.
It's going to come down to the team time trial at Greatest London Flat next week there for second and third, no doubt, as there's not much change on the season overall, I would have to think. The top teams found the top of the table again today.
They certainly did. We're going to have a little look at a replay